When you are tested, can you stand by this person? When, not if, when are you vowing to this? When you're challenged, when you're pushed. Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. Here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is February 14th. February 14th. Today is the final day in week 2. Week 2 was all about love being tested. Today is the vow. So our topic for today is the vow, and our theme is sacred promise. So we're at the end of week 2, love being tested, which means tomorrow we're going to do our foreshadowing of the week. Catch everyone back up on what February is all about. But today is the vow, sacred promise, and we're going to look at Roman, Hindu, Celtic, and Chinese folklore today. So we will see you after these 4 stories. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. The Legend of Valentine. In 3rd century Rome, marriage was not simply romance, it was regulation. Emperor Claudius II believed unmarried men made stronger soldiers. A man without family would not hesitate. He would not soften. He would not turn back for love. So Claudius forbade marriage for young men. The decree was framed as patriotism. It was spoken as strategy. It was justified as strength. But love does not submit quietly to logic. In the shadowed corners of Rome lived a priest named Valentinus. He believed that when 2 people bind themselves in promise, they do not weaken, they deepen. Couples began seeking him in secret. They came at night, cloaked and careful. No music announced them. No crowd celebrated them. Only quiet footsteps against stone and breath held in hope. Valentine joined their hands. He did not ask permission from the empire. He asked for consent from the heart. Will you stand with this person? Will you remain faithful in hardship? Will you keep this vow when it costs you? There were no grand processions, no legal protections, only intention. Each vow spoken was an act of defiance. Love became law in a hidden room. Eventually, secrecy broke. Valentine was arrested and brought before Claudius. The emperor expected fear or argument. Instead, he encountered conviction. Valentine spoke of love as covenant, something that binds deeper than decree. He was imprisoned. Later tradition says he befriended the jailer's daughter. Some say she was blind and that he restored her sight. Others say he restored hope. Before his execution, he wrote her a letter. He signed it simply, "From your Valentine." Not possession, not flourish, just remembrance. On February 14th, he was executed. The emperor's policy faded. Rome changed rulers, laws shifted. But the idea that love is worth binding oneself to endured. A vow is not romantic decoration. It is self-imposed law. When two people vow, they choose responsibility. They agree that their word will govern their actions even when feeling falters. Rome tried to legislate bodies. Valentine trusted the sovereignty, and promise outlived empire. Love without vow is emotion. Love with vow becomes structure. Story 2. Sacred Fire Marriage. In Hindu tradition, marriage is not sealed by signature. It is sealed by fire. Agni, the sacred fire deity, is not symbolic decoration at a wedding. Agni is witness. Agni carries vows to the divine. Agni remembers. When a couple stands before the flame, they are not performing for guests. They are entering covenant under cosmic observation. The ritual is called vivaha. It is one of the most sacred samskaras, or life rites, in Hindu life. Marriage is not merely partnership. It is dharma shared. The bride and groom sit before the fire. Offerings are made. Ghee is poured into flame. Mantras are recited in Sanskrit, ancient symbols that have crossed centuries without fading. Then comes the moment that binds. The Saptapadi, the 7 steps. Together, the couple walks 7 circles around the sacred fire. With each step, a vow is spoken. For nourishment, for strength, for prosperity, for happiness, for children, for harmony, for lifelong companionship. 7 steps, 7 promises, 7 laws written not on paper, but in action. Each step transforms love from feeling into obligation. The fire burns steadily as witness. In some regions, the bride's sari is tied to the groom's garment, a literal binding, 2 fabrics knotted into one movement. In others, the groom applies sindoor, vermilion, to the parting of the bride's hair, a visible sign of vow. But the power of the ritual does not lie in ornament. It lies in repetition. Each vow is not spoken once in a lifetime and forgotten. It is remembered daily in a way food is shared, in how conflict is resolved, and how family is protected. The fire sees. Fire purifies. Fire transforms. Fire consumes what is false. To vow before Agni is to understand that love cannot be hidden from truth. It must withstand heat. In traditional understanding, marriage is not only between 2 individuals. It joins families, lineages, and ancestral obligations. It is covenant across time. That is why fire matters. It connects earth to heaven. In some interpretations, the 7 steps are the true legal binding of the marriage. After the 7th step, the couple is irrevocably joined. Love becomes law at the 7th circle. It is not emotion that binds them. It is walking together around flame and choosing not to step away. Fire burns bright. Fire burns dangerous. Fire burns sacred. And the vow spoken in its presence must endure both warmth and heat. Love becomes law when it is walked, not merely felt. Story 3. Handfasting. Before contracts were written in ink, vows were tied in cord. In ancient Celtic tradition, a couple did not always seal marriage with church or crown. They stood before their community and bound their hands together. This ritual became known as handfasting. The word itself comes from Old Norse influence in Celtic custom, meaning to strike a bargain by joining hands, but it was far more than a handshake. The bride and groom faced one another. Their right hands were joined. A cord, ribbon, or woven cloth was wrapped around their wrists, binding them palm to palm. Not trapped, joined. The binding was symbolic, but also practical. The hands that would work land, raise children, and build shelter were tied together first. In early Gaelic societies, handfasting could serve as a betrothal or trial marriage lasting a year and a day. At the end of that period, the couple could formally confirm the union or part peacefully. Love was given space to prove itself. If the bond endured, it became permanent. If it fractured, separation did not carry the same stigma as later religious law would impose. In this way, the vow acknowledged something profound. Promise must be chosen daily. The tying of hands made visible what words alone could not guarantee. Two individuals became responsible not only for affection, but for shared survival. In later Christianized contexts, handfasting was absorbed into church weddings, sometimes becoming a decorative element rather than a legal act. But in its older form, the binding itself was a vow, witnessed by clan, witnessed by land, witnessed by sky. Often, the couple would step across a threshold together after their hands were released. The crossing marked a new household formed. The binding did not imprison, it aligned. Cord can fray, knot can loosen. But the act of tying declares something essential. I choose to link my fate with yours. Love becomes law when it accepts accountability. When two hands are bound, they cannot pretend independence. They must move in cooperation. In some modern revivals, couples choose cords of specific colors to represent intention. Green for growth, red for passion, blue for loyalty, gold for prosperity. Color speaks, but the true vow lives in tension. If one pulls too hard, both feel it. If one withdraws, the circle slackens. Handfasting teaches that sacred promise is not enforced by threat. It is upheld by balance. Love becomes law when it is tied carefully, tightened honestly, and maintained with awareness. Story 4. The Tea Ceremony Vows. In Chinese tradition, a vow is not proclaimed loudly. It is served. The Chinese wedding tea ceremony is one of the most enduring ritual acts of sacred promise. It is not a spectacle. It is an offering. In this ceremony, love becomes law not between two people alone, but between generations. The bride and groom kneel or bow before their elders. In their hands, tea. Tea in Chinese culture is not casual. It is daily ritual, medicinal balance, hospitality, and respect. To serve tea is to lower oneself willingly in humility. The couple prepares the tea carefully. Water must be heated to the correct temperature. Leaves chosen with intention. Cups handled steadily. There is no rushing this moment. They kneel before parents, grandparents, sometimes extended elders. The tea is presented with both hands. In Mandarin, respect is embodied in posture. The act of offering tea says, I enter this family not as conqueror, but as participant. The elders receive the tea. They drink. This is acceptance. After drinking, elders offer red envelopes, jewelry, or symbolic gifts. But these gifts are not payment. They are recognition. In this exchange, something irreversible occurs. The bride becomes daughter. The groom becomes son. Marriage here is not merely romantic alignment. It is structural reordering of lineage. In older tradition, tea would be served in strict order of hierarchy, eldest first, then descending. The ritual acknowledged that love must integrate into pre-existing bonds. Promise becomes layered. The couple vows not only fidelity to each other, but respect towards ancestors, care for parents, and continuation of family line. Silence often accompanies the ceremony. Words are minimal, because the vow is not in speech, it is in service. In Chinese folklore and Confucian tradition, filial piety, xiao, stands at the center of moral life. Marriage that ignores family dishonors balance. Marriage that honors elders becomes stable. Thus, the tea ceremony transforms affection into responsibility. It declares, we bind ourselves not only to feeling, but to duty. Love becomes law through action repeated across generations. The ritual also reflects balance between yin and yang. The couple kneels together. They rise together. They serve together. One does not perform while the other observes. Both participate in the vow. In some regions, the tea served to the couple by elders symbolizes reciprocal care. The vow flows in both directions. Elders bless, couple commits. The exchange seals belonging. The ceremony is simple, but its weight is immense. To serve tea is to say, I accept the obligations that come with love. I will honor where I have entered. I will uphold the structure that now includes me. In this tradition, vow is not dramatic declaration. It is continuity. It is choosing to become part of something older than oneself. Love becomes law when it aligns with lineage. Hey, everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories about the vow today. The theme was sacred promise, and our lesson was love becomes law. So, our lesson with the vow is that love becomes law. Our daily thread is that across these traditions, love becomes binding when it is chosen as responsibility. Valentine protects covenant even when empire forbids it. Sacred fire witnesses promise as transformation, not sentiment. Hands bound and Celtic rite declare partnership through action. Tea offered in humility weaves love into lineage. Each story reminds us that a vow is not a feeling spoken once. It is a law lived daily, whether or not anyone is watching. Okay, so the first one, we get to see what Valentine's Day was all about.
Yeah.
Right? So today is February 14th. It is Valentine's Day. That's kind of why it was about the vow. That's why it is Valentine's Day. Did you know that?
I did not.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Me either.
Because he just.
I knew there was a Saint Valentine, but I had no idea like what.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Around love and stuff. But to help people with that union must have been pretty special.
And then did he coin the phrase, then you're Valentine?
Well, it was his name. So it was just Saint Valentine. I like the 3 questions. Will you stand with this person? Will you remain faithful in hardship? Will you keep this vow when it costs you? I like how that last question was worded, when it costs you. We will all be tested one way or another. What it says about his story is that the historical details of Saint Valentine are layered in legend, but early Christian tradition preserved him as a martyr who defended marriage against imperial restriction. His story reflects a belief that love, once vowed, carries moral authority beyond political power. Almost like when you are married, you can't be separated. Kind of thought process. Souls can't be. Because it's bigger than you, bigger than anything on this playing field.
Hey, I would love to live by that value. Like, why not? Right?
What do you mean?
To not have to be separated. That means by work or anything.
Okay, the second one, the sacred fire marriage in Hindu tradition. I really liked hearing about this. I've never heard about this, the 7 steps. You're vowing for nourishment, for strength, for prosperity, for happiness, for children, for harmony, for lifelong companionship. I really liked how this one, every step's an intention. It's kind of like walking down the aisle. That's what you should think about, I guess.
Yeah, I've never thought about any of that, like putting intention more than the words you're just saying into any of that. But I really like that, like when they were describing going around
The 7
and
promises,
yeah,
the 7
because
steps.
you're speaking that into existence. You're making that reality, and that's beautiful.
This one talks about how marriage is not only between 2 individuals, it joins families, lineages, ancestral obligations. But there were a couple stories that were like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you are marrying a story.
Yeah, yeah.
the end
One
of
of
the
the other
day.
stories does kind
The
of
Japanese or the Chinese one at the end.
Yes, I think so. Now, I really like that. Like to become and be one with that family. I truly believe that's how it is or should be, especially if you're going to have kids together and stuff, that you do know about each other's family, because obviously your kids need to know. So probably you should know too. So
This one says that Hindu marriage rites vary by region and lineage, but the central presence of Agni as witness remains foundational. The Saptapadi represents mutual obligation and shared dharma, framing marriage as spiritual partnership rather than private romance. So it is, you're walking it with each other. It's not it's not for anyone else. You're doing it for each other.
I like that.
Kind of the whole purpose of marriage is you're doing it for each other. And this one's kind of like you're doing it for each other, but you're doing it with intention every step of the way, every single piece of the ceremony.
I wouldn't mind doing that.
That'd be cool. Story 3, hand fasting. I liked the hearing where the ribbons and stuff around the hands came from. Knowing that it's called hand fasting, I didn't know that.
No, like I didn't think fasting as like fastening something. So I was like, hand fasting? What? What does that mean?
Yeah,
So I was a little confused for half a second.
I like the thought that when it's on there, you will feel the hesitation or the control or the anxiety. Like you'll feel, I would imagine, what they're feeling. And
Right.
so it forces your body language to kind of be honest. It forces your emotions to be honest with your partner and to step into it honestly. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, you know? If you're feeling anxious or if you're whatever, that's not a bad thing all the
No.
time.
Yeah. No, it's better to be more open and vulnerable, because then that allows you to truly, is this the story that it said after a year, however long, that if they choose to not stay together or whatever?
Yeah, so
Right.
if the bond endured, it became permanent.
So how long
If it
was that bond?
fractured, it was for a year and a day.
So they had to keep tied together for a whole year?
No, so it was like a betrothal or a trial marriage. So you didn't have to be tied together the whole time. But if you tied that knot with someone, the hand fasting, you were in a trial marriage with them, you know, for a year and a day. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you guys just can peacefully part ways. If it's what you want, then after that year and a half, then it's permanent now. That knot is permanent.
Dude, that's like the Love is Blind.
But you know the people for a while first, too. It's just like that crossing into what it would actually be like to be there. But it's also you're witnessed by the clan, you're witnessed by the land, and you're witnessed by the sky. So everything is in alignment, everything is witnessing what you're vowing to, what you're potentially vowing to. And this one says that Celtic marriage customs varied by region and clan, but public witnessing and symbolic binding were central themes. Modern hand fasting rituals often draw from these early traditions while adapting them for contemporary spiritual practice.
I wonder though, like statistically, how often those bindings didn't work. 80-20, 90-10, 95-5 or less.
Right.
That they worked. I just foresee or imagine that it be extremely low percentage that
Didn't work.
decide to not work. Yeah. Because it's so crucial for survival, probably more than anything back then. Like, will we work together as a team for our mutual survival? And if not, within a year, you'll know, with living with somebody or being with somebody, you should be able to know if you're compatible enough to
Right.
stay together.
I think
in that time, I bet for
that
sure.
it's beautiful that they know they have a year and they'll give it a shot for a year. You know, it's not, I'm not wasting time or anything like this. It's set for that. And so there is no, I'm obligated, I'm in this for life, I'm scared, I need to run away.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, if it doesn't work, we can both peacefully walk away. Like how it said, there wasn't this stigma that religious laws placed on it.
Right.
Divorcing and separating later on. This is it's kind of like an engagement. You're engaged and then here's your trial getting ready for it. What are we going to actually have to do when we're married and everything? And can we do it and stuff like that? So like every step holds its purpose. Story 4, I liked the tea ceremony that both partners serve. Both partners contribute.
Yes. And I liked that it said when the grandparents give it back or the parents do it in return, that it signifies that mutual
Yeah, even
respect.
just also drinking it is that blessing as
Right,
well.
exactly. Um, I just really like their culture. I really do. I've always loved it. Just that respect, that family, like really that family bond that they had, that pride. I've always respected that culture. It's awesome.
So this one is, I like how the culture, you're seeing everyone. You're making this vow in front of everyone. That kind of forces that honesty. Because how many times are you going to have to pour it and look how many people in the eyes? And
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to know if you're being foolish or if you're like not in it.
Yeah,
They're going to know.
yeah,
They do.
Hmm.
And so this one also, the Chinese wedding tea ceremonies remain widely practiced across regional and diasporic communities. While modern adaptations vary, the central act of serving tea to elders continues to symbolize filial respect and structural commitment within marriage, honoring what came before, honoring who created the two beings that are now together. That's beautiful too.
Yeah,
And looking at the aspect of everyone.
I like that. Which one of the four was your favorite and why?
I liked the 7 steps, but I thought it would be cool to do the 7 steps while you're hand fasting. Like if you're circling each other. Thought
Yeah.
that would be cool.
We can just do it however we want. I'm game. I'm game to do it all hippie style, fucking on a beach or just in wherever.
Okay.
Game. I am down.
Well, today's lesson was that love becomes law. So they were making that vow. Therefore, they were writing it in stone. They were writing it into being into their law. What we are going to reflect on today is what promises live inside me. So, what promises live inside me that I can commit to, I am willing to commit to, that I want to commit to? What promises are there? Who have I given promises to, knowingly or unknowingly? So, we're going to think about that. Our activity is that we're going to write or speak one vow clearly without embellishment. So we're just going to write or speak one vow clearly without fluffing it around it. It's going to be straightforward, just like those steps. Speaking of, which one was your favorite?
I actually was like right there with you. Not necessarily the hand binding one, but I liked the 7 steps. That's probably that and the T. Those were my top two. I did like the hand binding.
Well,
but
they're all good, but yeah. So we're just gonna write or speak one vow clearly today, and then we're gonna remember because we're gonna have a good day today. We have a fun day of adventuring to do today. So we're gonna remember that love becomes law when commitment is consciously declared. So love becomes law only when that commitment is actually declared consciously. So we made it through week 2 of love being tested. We did week 1, which was the awakening of love. Week 2 was love tested. We just ended today with the vow. Sacred promise, love becomes law. Week 3, we kind of hit some turbulence again of love lost before it can be found. So we're going to lose our love and then find them. Some of us, not all
we're
of
just
us.
fun.
Yep. So week 3 will be love lost and found. And we are kicking it off right away with the separation. So we made the vow today, and we need to remember these vows moving forward, because just like that story was saying, was when you are tested, can you stand by this person? When, not if, when are you vowing to this? When you're challenged, when you're pushed. That's what it's reminding us. So think about that. Think about the promises that live inside you. And think or write or speak one vow today. Just straightforward, speak it out there or write it down. But that's all I got for you guys today. So thanks for joining us on Folklore and Flourish, and have a happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks, guys. Love you.